Most people over 50 have been told the exact same thing their whole lives. Drink 8 glasses of water a day, stay hydrated, keep your body healthy, and they believed it. They bought the big bottles, they set the reminders on their phones, they did everything right, they followed the rules. But here's what most people never really got told. If you're over 50 and you're still drinking plain water, just plain water, nothing added, you might be missing one of the simplest opportunities to support the energy, the circulation, and the everyday vitality that tends to quietly slip away year after year. Not because water is bad, water is essential, never stop drinking it, but because after 50 your body may benefit from something more, something specific that plain water on its own simply doesn't provide. And once I walk you through what that is, I think you'll look at your morning glass of water a little differently. Before we get into it, if you're someone who takes their health seriously, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I genuinely enjoy seeing people from all over showing up for their own health. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that too. This channel is about simple, honest, research-backed health content. Nothing sensational, nothing sold to you. Quick note before we dive in. I'm not a doctor, and this isn't medical advice. I'm someone who spends a lot of time researching health and nutrition topics and breaking them down into practical, everyday language. Everything I'm about to share is based on published research, and I'll be upfront about what the science actually supports and where it's still developing. If you have any existing health conditions or you're on medication, please talk to your doctor before making changes. I'll come back to this in more detail later because it genuinely matters here. So let's talk about what's actually going on in the body. There's a molecule called nitric oxide, and research suggests it plays a meaningful role in how your circulation, energy, and even your focus feel as you get older. Here's what nitric oxide does. It's the molecule responsible for helping your blood vessels relax and widen, a process called vasodilation. When your levels are in a healthy range, blood vessels open more easily, circulation flows more freely, and your heart, brain, and muscles all get better access to oxygen and nutrients. The result, according to the research, tends to be things like waking up with more energy, thinking a little more clearly, and generally feeling more capable day to day. But here's the part worth understanding. Starting around age 40 and continuing on from there, the body's natural capacity to produce nitric oxide tends to decline. This is a well-documented part of the aging process. It's not a disease and it's not something going wrong with you specifically. It's just biology. What this can mean practically is that blood vessels may become a little stiffer and less flexible over time. The heart may have to work a bit harder to circulate blood efficiently. Muscles may fatigue a little faster during activity. Some people notice their thinking feels less sharp or their focus drifts more than it used to. Recovery after physical effort can take longer too. And emotionally, this can be a subtle but real experience for a lot of people. That sense of not quite being as sharp or energetic as before without necessarily understanding why, even when you're eating reasonably well and sleeping enough. Practically, it can show up as an earlier afternoon energy dip, or just a general sense that days feel a little heavier than they used to. A lot of people chalk this up entirely to just getting older and leave it there. It's not that simple though. It's a specific, measurable biological process, and there are things within your control that may help support it. Plain water is essential. It hydrates you, it keeps your systems running, and you should never cut back on it. But water on its own doesn't supply the raw materials your body needs to actually produce nitric oxide. Think of your body like a factory. Water keeps the lights on and the machines running. But if the right raw materials aren't arriving at the loading dock, the production line for nitric oxide just sits idle. Everything looks fine on the surface, but nothing's actually being made. So what I want to walk you through today are a few natural food-based ingredients that give your body those raw materials. Things that research suggests can genuinely support this system, starting as early as tomorrow morning. The first one is beetroot. And specifically, I'm talking about beetroot powder, not the pickled slices you'd put on a sandwich. Beetroot is naturally very high in dietary nitrates. When you consume them, your body runs them through a conversion process. Nitrates become nitrites, and nitrites become nitric oxide. What's notable here is that this particular pathway doesn't rely as heavily on the endothelial cells, the cells lining your blood vessels that tend to become less efficient with age. So in a sense, this gives the body something of a more direct route to nitric oxide production rather than depending entirely on a pathway that may already be somewhat less efficient. Multiple studies, including research published in journals like Nitric Oxide and the Journal of Applied Physiology, have found that a single serving of beetroot or beetroot juice can measurably improve blood flow and reduce blood pressure within a few hours. Some people who use it consistently report feeling more even, sustained energy throughout the day, not the sharp spike and crash you get from caffeine. How to use it? Mix 1 to 2 teaspoons of beetroot powder into a large glass of water first thing in the morning. It has a fairly earthy taste, sometimes with a mild natural sweetness. A squeeze of lemon helps brighten the flavor. And as we'll get to, the lemon isn't just there for taste. The second ingredient is pomegranate. Here's the thing about nitric oxide. Even once your body produces it, it tends to break down fairly quickly, especially if there's ongoing inflammation or oxidative stress in the body. So you can be producing it and losing it almost at the same time. This is where pomegranate comes in. It's rich in polyphenols, powerful antioxidant compounds, which research suggests help protect nitric oxide from breaking down as quickly, allowing it to stay active in the bloodstream longer. A simple way to think about it: beetroot turns the tap on. Pomegranate helps keep the water flowing. Some studies have found that consistent pomegranate intake is associated with improved blood vessel flexibility, modest reductions in blood pressure, and increased availability of nitric oxide in the body. How to use it? Add 1 teaspoon of pomegranate powder or a tablespoon of pure pomegranate extract alongside your beetroot in the morning. Together they make a deep, rich colored drink. The third one goes a layer deeper because there's actually a second pathway the body uses to produce nitric oxide, and it involves an amino acid called L-citrulline, found naturally in watermelon. Here's how it works. Your body converts L-citrulline into another amino acid called L-arginine. And L-arginine is the direct raw material your cells use to manufacture nitric oxide. So citrulline essentially acts as a supply line delivering material to that production process. One interesting detail from the research: L-citrulline tends to be absorbed more efficiently than taking arginine directly, because a significant portion of arginine gets broken down in digestion before it reaches the bloodstream. Citrulline tends to bypass a lot of that, arriving intact and converting to arginine closer to where it's actually needed. This gives you essentially 3 separate mechanisms working together: beetroot's direct nitrate pathway, pomegranate protecting nitric oxide from breaking down, and citrulline supplying additional raw material through a second pathway. How to use it? Add half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon of L-citrulline powder to your morning glass. It has a very mild, almost neutral taste. You can also simply eat or juice fresh watermelon if you'd rather get it that way. If you want to build on the core 3, there are a few other natural additions worth knowing about. You don't need all of these. Think of them as optional extras you can rotate in based on how you feel. Lemon juice. The vitamin C in lemon is thought to help protect nitric oxide from oxidative breakdown in a similar way to pomegranate, but through a different mechanism. It also brightens the flavor of the whole drink. Ginger. A small amount of ginger powder contains compounds that some research links to nitric oxide support, while also having anti-inflammatory properties, which may help protect blood vessel walls over time. Hibiscus. Hibiscus is rich in antioxidants and has been studied for its role in supporting healthy blood pressure and helping blood vessels relax. It also turns the drink a deep, vibrant red. Tart cherry. Tart cherry is associated with reduced oxidative stress and inflammation, and some research also links it to better sleep quality and muscle recovery, both relevant as we get older. Cocoa powder. Unsweetened cocoa contains flavanols, which research suggests may help strengthen blood vessel walls and support their ability to dilate. It also adds a nice depth of flavor. Again, you don't need to use all of these every day. Start with the core 3, beetroot, pomegranate, citrulline. See how you feel, and build from there based on what you enjoy. Here's how simple this actually is in practice. In the morning, within about 30 minutes of waking up, mix your core ingredients into a large glass of water. 1 to 2 teaspoons beetroot powder, 1 teaspoon pomegranate powder, half a teaspoon L-citrulline, a squeeze of lemon stir, and drink. If you want to prep ahead of time, you can mix a dry batch of the powders together in a jar and store it at room temperature. Each morning, take 2 to 3 tablespoons of the mix and stir it into water. Takes about 10 seconds. Some people also find it helpful to have a second, smaller glass in the early afternoon, around 2 or 3 p.m., right around when energy dips tend to happen for a lot of people. Consistency is really the key factor here, based on the research. This isn't something that reverses years of gradual change overnight, but a lot of people who stick with something like this consistently report noticing changes over days to a couple of weeks, more steady energy, a bit more mental clarity, and generally feeling a little more like themselves. Now this part is genuinely important, so please don't skip past it. This video is general health information, not medical advice, and it's not a substitute for talking to a doctor or pharmacist about your specific situation. If you are taking blood pressure medication, blood thinners, nitrate-based medications, like those sometimes prescribed for heart conditions, or you have any existing cardiovascular condition, please talk to your doctor before adding concentrated nitrate or citrulline supplements to your routine. These ingredients can interact with certain medications and in some combinations can cause blood pressure to drop too low. It's also worth being mindful of dosage. More isn't automatically better here. Stick to modest amounts, especially when you're just starting out, and see how your body responds. And generally, if you have any chronic health condition, are pregnant, or are managing a complex medical situation, it's always worth running new supplements past a healthcare provider first, even when the ingredients themselves are natural and food-based. To sum it all up, this isn't about chasing some dramatic transformation or believing a single drink will undo years of change overnight. It's about giving your body some of the raw materials that research suggests it may need a bit more of as you get older. Alongside the basics, you're probably already doing well. Good sleep, reasonable activity, and eating well. Small, consistent things done over time tend to be what actually moves the needle. If this was useful, go ahead and hit that like button. Share it with someone who might find it helpful, and subscribe if you'd like more simple, research-based health content like this every week. Drop a comment and let me know. Which one of these are you going to try first? Take care of yourself.